Hello, and welcome to big episode number 10. We're officially in the double digits now. My name is Kevin. I'm joined by my co-host Dave. This is the Between Two Tales podcast. If you're new here, Dave, why don't you give the new people a rundown on what this show is about?
That's on big episode number 10. We made it this far. Should congratulate ourselves for that. And thank you for all those who came in on number 1, and 2, and 3, and so on, and followed us to number 10. But for those of you who don't know what you're about to watch, pretty much what we're going to do is generate 5 words, random words. We won't be able to see it beforehand. Kevin and I didn't sit down and discuss these words that we're going to pick and choose, whatever. None of that. He's going to pull it up. You're going to see it. We're going to generate 5 words. And then from that list of 5, from that set of 5, we're going to come up with a full outline, like a first draft outline of a story. While that's going on, I'll begin a timer for 90 minutes, and we have 90 minutes to come up with the full outline of the story, incorporating in some way. It may be the name, it may be the descriptor, it may be something someone says. We'll put those 5 words into that storyline.
Yep, and then at the end, we're going to compare our story to an AI-generated story. So basically, we're going to give this AI tool, ChatGPT, the same prompt that we got, and we're going to see what story that spits out in comparison to ours. So far, I don't think we've lost one yet. And
we haven't. Yep.
There was a week where we were getting a bit worried.
Yeah.
That the AI did spit out a decent story, but then 2 steps forward, 5 steps back last week, it just spit out something that didn't even come close to the epicness that we brought out last week.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, one of the stories that it's spat out something that was actually pretty decent ended up becoming the backstory to one of the characters. And it could work with a little bit of editing, but it could work. And so that was the closest I've ever gotten to actually having something that compared on just a really well-rounded story. Like Kevin said, it didn't fully deliver. And then as the other episodes progressed, it wasn't as good. So hopefully, especially for 10, Kevin, I have to say, for 10, we have to win. We have to be better than AI.
We got to come up with today's story has to be better than anything we put out, and that's gonna be tough because some of the recent stories that we've been putting out are pretty good in my opinion. There's even some that Dave and I are kind of might even think about taking a second look at to polish up.
And just to piggyback on that, part of why we're doing this, besides just having some fun and creating some stories and building that like mental exercise in a sense, is really just showing everyone that it is possible to come up with an outline. It may not be perfect. There's a lot of other details that need to go in, but anyone can really come up with an outline in an hour and a half, as long as you commit yourself to the hour and a half and you just say, all right, it's not going to be perfect. You already know this, but just come up with a full story in that time. And something that Kevin and I are starting to find, and I guess I'm going to speak a little bit on this because episode 10, something that we're starting to find is, you start generating so many stories. We're doing 1 a week, right? But you generate all these stories and you can turn around and say, okay, this one has potential. This one has I liked how this one's going in this direction, and it can be highlighted and built upon. And there's 10 stories, or it's going to be 10 stories that you can turn back around and say, hey, this one is something that we should travel with a little bit longer. And so we're really just putting it on to everyone's watching, any storyteller that's watching. Put yourself up to the task and to the challenge. Generate 5 random words, do 90 minutes, come up with a full story. If you want, share it with us. We would love to see it, and maybe get some others doing the same thing. And you'll be surprised at how possible and doable it is to come up with a story, an outline of a story in 90 minutes.
I
Yeah,
think you'll pleasantly surprise yourself.
yeah. Just putting that challenge out there.
All right, now it's time to generate our words. Let
Yes.
me go to this random word generator here. All right, one spin. Everyone knows the rules. Bam.
Timer has begun.
Sight, groan, color, cheap, unrest.
Yes.
Unrest.
Yeah, that brought up a couple different kind of feelings around it.
Unrest. What is the exact definition of unrest? Feeling of dissatisfaction. That's right.
Or disturbance. I always, when I hear unrest, I always think I hear it in the news, and they're like, following the unrest in so and so country, the leaders have decided to lock everyone up, or kill these people, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Some kind of disturbance to the normal order of things.
Right. That could lend itself to some interesting world building. Disturbance.
Or just plainly unhappy people. Unhappy group of people.
That's right.
That could be. Cheap. Yeah, it could be cheap. Something could be cheap to purchase. Something could be cheap in quality.
Yep. Could be cheap in quality.
What's the actual definition of cheap? Low in price.
I'm feeling we should do a crazy world for some reason. I don't know. There's a lot we could do with unrest.
What describe to me
like a crazy, fantastical world, post-apocalyptic.
Okay.
So, I was just looking through these, and I was like, maybe the world has been flooded. We are now amphibious living beings. We've learned how to live underwater. Different areas of different sections to segregate different classes of people or by color. There's unrest in the world. Maybe they're all living under one giant sphere, and someone smashes a hole in it, and now the water is pouring in, about to destroy everything again. Or the other one, I think this is inspiration off a very old anime I watched a long time ago. I forgot what its name, but everyone's living underground.
Yeah.
Humans are living underground. On the surface, there's like just monsters roaming the earth. It's completely uninhabitable to humans. That's why they're all living underground. Our main characters could be a bunch of rebellious individuals who've never seen the light of day, the sky, or anything like that. So they like Joel in Last of Us, on their way to find some vehicle to drill themselves to the surface of the earth, or not to the regular surface, and then they run into all these monsters and create some unrest with their world and the world above.
Interesting. So the world above has these monsters, and so
It could be monsters, it could be people.
Of like, what was that Will Smith movie with those zombie-like folks?
I Am Legend.
Yeah, so like, all right, in I Am Legend, those monsters stayed in the dark in order to survive because the sun would burn their skin or something like that, or kill them or whatever. So in this version, it's like they get to live outside, and we have to live in the shadow / underground, so that way we don't get killed.
Yeah, actually, that a more better representation of that dynamic is. Have you ever seen Attack on Titan, the anime?
I'm aware of it. I've not seen it.
yeah, basically they're living in a walled up city, and outside the city there's like these literal giants that eat people. So one day, how the show actually starts is there's a giant titan that busts a hole through the wall of their city, and all the giants, the little giants, come rushing in and start eating everybody. But there's a whole complicated backstory behind it. It's like there are certain people that can turn into those titans.
Yeah.
And that's how they had the mental capacity to bust through the wall. But the thing is, on a bigger scale, the people that are on that island with all the titans and giants, those are people that are descendants of some country that got exiled there. So there's actually a whole normal world outside of this. And they didn't know that until they learned the history of how it happened. Like, it turned out that that they took like enemies and they like put them on this island and like turned them into these giants and stuff like that. And now they end up finding this out, and they end up in later seasons getting revenge on the people that made their life that way. So it's kind of interesting that it's like two different, like, you don't like a whole civilization outside of what you don't know.
Yeah.
Basically.
I'm wondering if to push all that a step further, maybe we're so far in the future here where the sun is dying, and I believe the way they said the sun would die is it would believe implode, but it has to get bigger before it does that, and then Earth, Venus, Mars would also go down with it, probably some other planets as well. But my point is, we could be in the midst of this whole thing, and we live underground. We could be living underground because survival, but then those who are able to live above ground, could be these monster type folks that can live through their skin for whatever reason or whatever. Like, it doesn't harm them. It makes them stronger. I don't know.
The reptiles, lizard people,
and they're able to deal with the warmer climate. And it doesn't you don't have to think in terms of like the sun is so gigantic that just like it gotten a little bit hotter because the sun's gotten a little bit bigger. So now it's like those who can withstand the heat and the rays of the sun. Like, if you imagine in this world, like, the sun is still not going to kill off anyone on Earth for another couple thousand years, just because it's like the beginnings of it, sort of deal.
Yeah.
That might be interesting. And there could be some kind of stuff where there's some unrest because the folks underground are like, we have to, first of all, we have to survive these like creatures, but we have to get off this rock. Like, for mankind, maybe our, not our children's, but like somewhere down the line, it's the end of mankind.
Yeah, maybe they're running out of
sooner than later.
Maybe they're running out of like a resource that can only be found on the surface, but the surface is overran by these creatures.
Yeah.
Do you remember that thing I sent you, like the clip of those people in Congo that found the rock that had like an electrical charge to it?
If it's real, but yeah.
Well, even if it's not real, that would make for a great resource that could possibly be something that is found on the surface of the Earth that
that kind of like it generates power, and so like they need that resource to generate power to build this rocket. Maybe there's old technology out in the space already, like these old stations and whatnot, and they just try to get more folks off the rock or whatever, and like they couldn't for many years, so they don't even know if things are still running up there. Maybe they do, and they're like, we can't make it there. We can't leave because we ran out, or we're running low. We're not enough to make what we need, and like everything we need is on the surface, but we have to contend with these monsters that makes the mission that much dangerous to even try to get it.
What is that? What is that movie where it's like a train and the world is in like an ice age or something, and everyone's living in the train?
Speed Runner? No.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Everyone's living on this train. Snowpiercer. That's right.
I'm like something runner. I think of Blade Runner or some crap. But yeah, Snowpiercer. Yeah, that's right. I think it's a TV show now too, or something like this. But it was a movie.
Yeah, so maybe everyone's living on some big underground, like sand submarine or like drill. That's just like.
It could also be in the water too. Like maybe it's safer in the water, and like there's like that water utopia down there.
That's true. If we do a water thing, I'm trying to imagine this drill.
You know, we became Atlantis.
Yeah, I feel like that's so easily like made. Now I'm just trying to imagine like this underground drill that's just constantly running, and they just ran out of fuel.
The problem is, eventually with that drill, you're gonna reach. You can just keep drilling. Everything on Earth just drops. I feel like eventually you're gonna reach the water. You think it's easier to be the next Atlantis? I think it's plausible, more plausible
to be the next Atlantis.
Well, to build this kind of underwater world where people are semi thriving. I mean, we're not meant to be down there, and that's part of the unrest. Like, we're meant to be on top of the Earth, whether that means on another planet or etc. But at the end of the day, you know, in this world, it's like this Earth will come to cease its existence. So it's like you gotta make it happen. You need the technology to do it, and that resource is out on the land, but they have to contend with this.
All right, how about this? Instead of having monsters, so I always found it interesting. The first time I went on a cruise, I heard a story that you can pay a certain amount of money to live on a cruise every single year. And I was like, who would want to do that? Be on a boat? I mean, I guess there's food, the casino, and all the entertainment you want there.
Yeah.
But then that brings up my point. Like, you could live on a craft like that as long as it had all like the amenities.
Well, that's the thing. So you want a craft like that, eventually you gotta dock because you gotta get more stuff.
So what if there's just a giant submarine, some vessel bigger than a cruise ship that can actually hold a population of people on it, and it's so big that the vessel is pretty much segregated into different classes. Like the lower class, maybe they live on the back of the ship in not so nice areas. The middle class, and then the upper class, they have, you know, the prime spot of the ship with all the entertainment amenities, casino, buffets.
More so like it's a separation. I think you already said it, but it's a separation of classes and of wealth, right? If you had the money originally.
Yeah, that's how it was on Snowpiercer too, I'm pretty sure. And then the unrest could be like some political unrest that the people.
Social unrest. They don't want
social unrest.
Don't want to be back there.
Yeah, they want more opportunities and whatnot, or they either branch off into their own ship or something like that, or maybe they're secretly building their own ship to escape, to live off on their own, and they keep getting thwarted by the powers above, trying to control everything.
Powers in the front. I just wonder. That's the thing. It's like kind of crazy that they'd be building their own ship or whatever the case might be. So in this world, you would have some kind of monstrous force on land that we know it, and so
We
everyone.
don't have to have that. All the conflict could just happen on the ship. It could just be like,
Well, what made everyone get into this ship?
could be because the natural Mother Nature said, "I'm gonna flood this world."
So everywhere it gets flooded.
A giant tsunami covers the earth. Sea levels have risen 10,000 x. Now people live on underwater or on the surface. There are actually a village, or I don't even know if I can call them a village, a tribe of people out in like somewhere in Asia where they have a floating village. Like literally,
Yeah, I think I heard about this.
all their houses are houseboats, and they like float everywhere.
They used to be on land, but then they got flooded out, and they are thriving or continuing to live on.
And it said like those people have like developed the lung capacity to like walk underwater for a
Those
certain
like
amount of time.
free divers now
Yeah,
to go hunt and go get fish and stuff. Yeah.
it's kind of nuts.
I just wonder and worry if we're biting off and truly biting off Snowpiercer and just giving it a different vehicle
That's true too.
versus the main mission, let's say, is to get off Earth. Due
That's
to
wrong.
all the other things that environmental stuff and whether we put the monsters on there or not. I mean,
Unless you want them to escape Earth.
right, or that's the goal. Whether they fail or succeed is a whole different matter. But
Okay, so let's put that down. Main mission to escape Earth.
right, Sun is
So the backstory.
engulfing Earth. So the backstory is, Sun's engulfing Earth. These reptile type folks are able to live on the surface.
Let's see. Reptile people living on surface.
Humanity, as we know it, lives either underground or underwater.
Underground or underwater?
If we put them underwater, it could be like whoever was able to survive to get to a cave or like a large mountain where they hollowed out some of it and like built into it. That could work too. And it's
Right.
like, they have a big fence, basically like a huge door that's a metal door, like super thick. Like you can't blow your way through that door pretty much, or at least that's what we'll say. And then, they open up the door every once in a while to go see if they can get things. But it's like every time you have, or like there's multiple doors. It could be like little hideaways, right? Within our group of folks, people have come to find another way. Like there's another like small fake exit, and they go out there for these little expeditions, go get some stuff. Like there's a whole smuggling thing going on, right? Bartering and all this other stuff. So the main doors aren't the only doors. There's also like, these are little created doors by just the people. And, but what keeps them in check, so to speak, and not just constantly just living out there is that like, you're going to die. Like eventually you keep going out there, your name will be called one day. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're going to get got.
All right. How about I'm trying to spin all that together. Because maybe they don't have to leave Earth. I'm trying to see if they could stay at the same place, but they have to go out and fight these monsters. Like it's inevitable, just because they need to get stuff
So
to bring back.
is the main mission not to escape Earth, but to save Earth from these things?
Or it's just to keep on surviving, maybe. So here's an interesting dynamic. I'm trying to combine like draw inspiration from some of the manga and I've watched, or I've read recently, and some anime I've watched. So this particular manga that I'm rereading called Solo Leveling, like in this world there's like portals, rips in the portals, or rips in the dimension, and then on the other side of the dimension are like dungeons where monsters are.
Okay.
And because of this,
each dimension is like a monster's dungeon.
yeah, and the people in the human realm have to close these dungeons, and by doing that, in order to do that, they have to go inside the dungeon and kill the boss.
Okay.
But these dungeons just keep on popping up just randomly. So there's a certain group of people that go do that. It's become like a vocation. They're called hunters. So only hunters could go and fight these monsters and destroy the dungeons. Because if they don't kill the boss, the dungeon's gonna rip open and all the monsters are gonna come pouring into their world and wreak havoc on their world.
Okay, I'm with you. So
if we
pretty much like, are you saying that they have to go off? So there's like a class of folks that has to go off and fight these things.
Yeah, but here's the thing: those folks are like kind of superhuman, sort of. They have like powers and stuff like that, and they're regarded as more of the upper class. It's like a recognizable and noble title to be a hunter. What if we flip the script where ain't no one wants to go out and fight monsters, so only the lower middle and lower class people, they have to be hunters. They can't do anything else.
Like, oh, I see what you're saying. So like the lower class, like they're being forced to go out.
They're being forced, yeah.
What is this like? What's the name of that movie? It's like a version, a different version of Hunger Games, in a sense, because they need to do this in order to live, and if they don't, they'll just be killed.
Yes.
So at least by going out there fighting, they get a chance to survive. I mean, other than it being a game, it's just like, no, this is your life now.
Well, they got to go out and, I mean, if they want work, they got to be a hunter, pretty much, because there's no other opportunities for them. And maybe to make it even, to create a more divided social unrest, maybe the people commanding these hunters, or the people fighting the monsters. Have you ever seen Ender's Game? Where have you heard of Ender's Game before?
It sounds familiar, but nothing has come to mind other than it sounds familiar.
Well, basically, there's this kid sitting in a spaceship, and he's controlling all these armies to fight off these aliens. And to him, it kind of looks like a game, like a strategy game, where he's like, "Oh, go destroy that."
It's like one of those strategy games where you send off your troops to go battle.
Yeah, but he's actually controlling real people.
Yeah.
So he sends an entire battalion to sacrifice themselves in order to end up beating the aliens out.
Yeah.
And that like makes him feel terrible or whatever. So he like leaves. But maybe like there's a upper class person that controls like certain infantry of hunters, and they're the one that gives orders out. They could see through like machines, like the battlefield, and see like where the monsters are and where to go. So they're like directing the hunter groups to go and to do their bidding. But there's
in this case the
lower class people, and obviously they're not in danger at all. They're sitting nice and comfy back in the.
It's like the alternate reality, like so they don't really have free choice because they're being controlled.
Yeah, well they're being commanded. I mean they can they have the choice. They just have to rebel, and that's where we can make it interesting. Where a group of hunters decide we don't want to do this anymore.
I mean, they could
Just run off.
even without it being like that. Like they could just be like, your duty and your job's to do this, and then they rebel eventually, and then just leave it at that. They rebel. The unrest builds. They rebel.
They run off. They're like, we're not coming back.
Or I don't know.
Or they come back and attack.
That's what I was about to say. Like, eventually, they might come back and be like, they know what they're doing. They know how to fight, man. They're gonna come back and come get you.
Yeah, I don't know why the idea of social unrest is interesting here. Like a world like that. I think we'd create something interesting from it. And I'm like trying to think of things that would be so unlawfully unfair to these lower class people that they wouldn't want to go and like rebel and try to take down the upper middle class and all them.
Yeah, that's what would really happen is be like, hey, we actually know how to fight now. Come take your. Yeah, or they have a leader and like we can go back and
they're like
attack, and then we'll live in there with all of our freedoms. And
we're tired of you commanding us from the confines of your couch while we're out here getting killed by these monsters.
So let's put something together here. So let's say we have a main character here, who
was the captain of one of these lower class people.
He could end up becoming that, right? So like,
yeah,
he's his arc can be he's an everyman to becoming the man, the leader.
He leads the rebellion.
He could be an everyman that everyone respects because of his hunting / treatment of others. He becomes the man.
I'm looking at
the leader.
I'm looking at synonyms for hunter to see if we can pick something that we would call these people that go out, fight monsters, and gather material. Chaser, stalker, hawker.
Call them trappers.
Trappers? That's on there too. Trappers on there too. Trappers. Something that sounds like a job that no one wants to do. Trapper.
Trappers could be that.
Could be that, yeah.
Job no one wants to do. But all of the lower class folks need to do it. It could be like something like the draft, or it could just be if you're lower class, you have to do it. Or it could be like if you're lower class and they have their draft, like they need you, then you get your draft number.
What if they do that like mandatory military service type thing for them? Like once you reach a certain age, you have to go train to be.
Just for the lower class? I feel like with the draft stuff, it kind of makes it feel a little unfair.
Okay.
Because like, why me? Because versus, you already know growing up, you're going to go. That's one way.
True.
Your mind gets used to the idea of like, this is what's going to happen. But the draft is like, hey, you may not, you may. Who knows?
That's true.
And it just so happens to be your dumb luck. And then that'll really get people pissed off.
Should we bite off the Hunger Games? The guy's little brother, or girl's little brother, girl's sibling gets chosen. She's like, no, I'm going to go too.
Good. Yeah, that dynamic.
Or she replaces her.
So it's instead of escape Earth, it's survive Earth.
Survive. That's right.
And what kind of monsters are these folks?
Giant reptiles. Giant dinosaur-like monsters that just have a taste for flesh. They see humans.
Somehow the dead from the graves rose again. and they came out to
Now,
attack everyone.
should the trappers, should they be in like armored mobile suits, or should they be more more caveman like, and they just have some high-tech weapons and they're riding horses?
High-tech weapons while riding horses. So it's like high-tech and low-tech at the same time. I mean, we can give them armored vehicles that they had to like weld and like do like random crap to it to make it armored. Because like if they're doing these trips, they're probably going to try to go get gas and all this other stuff.
So they're each driving Mad Max style
that's
vehicles.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
All right, interesting.
You know, they pull together what they find and then combine it to the car to make it more
Car's got
robust.
Some rockets in the front, flamethrower.
Each car has a person playing the guitar with a flamethrower at the end of it.
Got a man on the turret
doing crazy music at the same time while they're in the middle of trapping. And I'm going to say these monsters are giant reptile people who are no longer really human, but like they're mutated.
Giant reptile.
And you know, they are very fast, strong, and able to withstand the rays of the sun. So that kind of, what that tells me is that these trappers go out at night, the most scariest time of day, to go and do what they gotta do.
Yeah, they go out at night. But if they have to go out at night because the sun
it's too hot,
it's too scorching for them.
So at night is when they get a little bit of relief, and
that's also when these reptile things go out and hunt.
Well, the reptile things are always out, always on the hunt. So when they come across it, they say, perfect time for a Kevin burger.
Get me some Dave chicken wings.
They come out to come get you. So, all right. So what we'll say is we circle back to like our original idea, which is great. We'll get rid of the flooding, right? So we're living underground. The sun may or may not be dying.
And these people are living in like some futuristic fortress
in the mountain, like in the hills, in the mountains.
Yeah, inside a mountain, like the dwarves from Lord of the Rings. So they have to go out and get material, like wood, mine some rocks.
Yeah.
Maybe catch some food. Maybe there's useful stuff that they could gather off killing one of these monsters. So there's a point. There's a point in doing so. They get their scales or some, use it for stuff. But also that they just need to fight them off, because the higher ups, with their technology, they can see like nests of these monsters moving closer and closer to where they live now. So they just have to go and fight them off. There's a nest of There's a nest of giant lizard men gathering together at 2131 coordinates.
Yeah. Like they radio call in, like to a truck, and they're like, hey, these coordinates, or you want it to be like they control them?
No, they call it in, and then there's obviously the person that commands the troops to go out. And they're like, okay, Squadron 1, you head out there right now. Squadron 2, you stay in the back, just in case.
Okay.
Like, there's an actual strategy person.
Yeah.
And maybe we can actually make the strategy person feel bad for these lower class people, and they come over to their side. Maybe our main character could be the strategy person. And they're like...
No, our main character has to be on that field. has to be on that field of battle. The strategy person is another person.
All right.
All right. So I'm also going to say, I'm like thinking of antagonists, and it's like, well, there's definitely some kind of leader on this mountain who's keeping all this social class in order. So that's going to be our main antagonist that he's going to try to kill our protagonist for insubordination and trying to cause an unrest and a riot.
Yeah, they're quote unquote like the noble group of this society. We can give them a name.
Well, it doesn't be a group, right? It could be the noble group leader. Because you only have one leader in that sense. Like, he might have a board, he might have all this other stuff, but there is a leader that's like calling the shots, so to speak, maybe in lockstep with his cabinet. But
yeah, he's the mayor of Mountain Town.
Well, we don't have to worry about the name. But let's put some proper names on this. Get our protagonist,
our main character.
Yeah,
Mikhail.
Well, since this guy is brave and strong and all and noble and all that stuff, we might as well call him David. Makes sense to me.
Say what? No, I think David should be the name of the evil guy who's the head of everybody. That makes sense to me.
Let's see. Jerry, Aaron,
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, he would be the leader. Or not the leader, but, the one to save everyone.
Keanu.
Yeah, why not? We got to go big on the number 10.
Keanu, our MC, future captain.
And that of the
trappers.
That of the antagonist could be named Billy.
Billy Bob.
Billy. Willie.
Make him a southern guy.
Albert. Albert and Willie.
Hendrix.
Oh. People who are fans of Jimmy may not like that. What about Roy or Randy?
Colonel Sanders.
Bobby.
Yeah, we do Roy. Roy sounds like a villain.
I'll tell my uncle he said that. So Roy.
Your uncle's the leader.
We have our trappers. We have our monsters. At some point, we have a strategy man. I have what do we call him?
The what?
Our main character?
Keanu.
Keanu. I don't know why I'm struggling with this. Keanu.
Whew. Roy, the leader of
Keanu. I don't know why that's like verbal gymnastics for me right now. All right. So let's start a story. And then they have to get Groan. Groan could be easy. Something gets hit, it's hurt, they groan.
They get injured, they groan.
Right.
Easy. Now all these words are pretty easy, to be honest. Cheap. Maybe the trappers get like the cheapest weapons and gears to go out. It's almost like the higher ups want them to all perish. They get all the old weapons. They don't get any of the new stuff.
No. They get the old kit. And then sight, that can be built in as far as like this is the site they have to go to.
Yep.
Cheap weapons, unrest, groan, someone gets hurt, they groan out, or they groan for help. Color could be anything. I mean, the color of the sky, they go outside, the color of this, maybe the color of the world is different.
Yeah, color is easy. I was thinking that's they all have a certain color war paint they put on before they go out.
So, all right, let's begin our story, a rough story outline here with 45 minutes to go. So we start with Keanu waking up for the day after hearing a distress call from a groaning trapper. Their unit is in a bad situation.
Oh, so we're putting him in the action.
Well, he could either be at the base, like that particular day he wasn't going out, or like he didn't have to go out that particular day. Like I think of it like sort of like an army in a sense. Like Some days you engage, some days you're not engaging. Unless things get that messed up where they need backup.
So is he already the man?
No, I think he's on a cot. The stress call goes off, and then
they show him as kind of like the greenhorn guy that's getting shown around by some older guy, and then we kill off the older guy.
we can get to that. We can have the action scene, and then we just showcase that all these other members, including Keanu, is like gearing up to go out on their day off, so to speak, to go assist. And then, so then it's more so, all right, we're going through the eyes of Keanu. He was sleeping. Thing goes off. Everyone has to report. It's time, backups needed. We get out there. We play around with a little bit of fear, right? We're teasing what's out there, and like we have some fearful moments. They have to engage with these things, these monsters. So then we see that. We know now, like, the horribleness of what's out there. And then they have to come back. Some of them come back, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But I'm just setting up the world in a sense, and setting up our main character, setting up what he does for a living ish.
I'm gonna try to develop a name for the.
I was going to say, yeah, because monsters
need a name. They need to be like.
It needs to be something gripping. Because you know what, they would have a nickname for them. They wouldn't call them monsters. You know what I mean? Like they have a nickname for them. All right, so Keanu wakes up for the day after hearing an alarm go off. He turns on his radio and hears a distress call from a groaning trapper. The unit is in a bad situation. Needs backup. All around, other members are preparing for a fight, putting on protection and loading their weapons. Keanu looks down at his cheap weapon and loads ammo into it. At this point, the group is moving to these armored vehicles covered in blood.
They got some Halo armor themselves.
Flesh. They load up. Here I got it with the descriptors here. They load up. Why is this not working? We can see the fear in some of the younger members' eyes.
There's always a man praying.
We assume that they are new to this.
There's always a man praying, and there's always a man throwing up.
Right. The main door. Actually, one man yells out, "Open the main bay." The door that seems to be 20 tons heavy slowly opens. The moonlight hits the guys' faces. The cars travel off into the night. We pull up to see a firefight happening some distance away. All right. So now they're going to pull up at location and all hell's going to break loose. Or maybe nothing. Or maybe they pull up at the location and it's quiet. It's the opposite. You can see this firefight in the distance. They get there and everything is quiet. Nothing is moving. Nothing is happening.
I think we're throwing them in the fire.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's quiet. They go out there. One man walks out and he's like, "I don't see nothing." And then he gets eaten.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like,
So they arrive at the location. Everything's quiet. Where are the rest of the fighters? One man gets out to inspect and says in radios, there's only bodies.
and then as soon as he turns around,
A loud sound,
two talons
goes off.
Two talons grab him,
And what kind?
flies away.
And the man is taken and flung away.
And
everyone in the car.
And the captain yells, "Shrieker!"
It's freaking out. Okay.
They all start firing.
Everyone in the car is bugged out. We can hear the crunching sounds as the man is being eaten. Then the captain yells out, "What do you call them? Shriekers? Shrieker, engage."
Everyone starts unloading their clips.
Begins unloading their clips and shooting in the trees.
And the Shrieker lets out a loud shriek.
The Shrieker lets out a loud shriek, causing the soldiers to cover their ears. As soon as this happens, another soldier is taken. Keanu is the only one prepared with earplugs. He fights off one Shrieker coming in for the kill. Basically, shoots him.
Yeah, there's
the team begins.
There's a swarm of Shriekers
work together to fight and defend their position. Eventually,
I feel like there should be an armadillo type reptile thing that has like hard armor that's kind of impenetrable by bullets.
Yeah.
Now imagining like this thing rolling towards them like a ball, and they're like, "That's a creeper," and they have to use some other weapon to immobilize that thing.
Right, I got you. They seem to have stayed off their attack.
Yeah, we could give these monsters some
quiet again.
Give these monsters some level of intelligence. So, like, let's say there's a bunch of other monster lizards following behind this giant armadillo thing that's rolling like a ball, and that thing's like what is it called? What was it? Like a battering ram. Yeah. It's about to crash into them.
What were you calling it as a nickname?
A creeper.
The creeper.
Or okay. I was looking up some. I wrote down creeper, dread snake.
The captain yells out, "Creeper, move!"
Or prepare the cannon.
They all move towards the vehicle to use the cannon and protect themselves. Okay. We have to get past this scene, folks. We're going to be here all day to protect themselves. They fight off this attack. It appears safe to search. They come across a battle-struck, shell-shock in the sense, shell-shocked woman with blood all over her and paralyzing fear in her eyes. They take her and see the rest of the bodies laying there. Nothing they can do for them. They load up with the supplies the original team went for and leave back to the base. All right. We're back at the base.
Back at the base.
And so basically we have to make our guy here someone important. Or at least someone that people can respect, right?
The main character?
Yeah.
Isn't he like a little a no one right now?
It's not that he's a no one. I would just say, he doesn't. The unrest and all that stuff hasn't really happened, and so like he has people know him, they like him, but it doesn't serve any purpose yet. And it's like he only gets more respect, and so on, as a purpose is more well defined.
Yeah.
But like if they were to describe him, he's a gallant fighter, so on. So the way I would tie it is Keanu and some of the others, because we're also going to introduce our antagonists, go to hear a speech, right? And I'll just add this in, a speech, but we still have to figure out what I was saying from before. Go to hear a speech from, what we call it?
Oh, maybe they hear from the higher ups.
Yeah. Roy.
And Roy is like congratulating them.
Telling them, like, good job.
You fought out the nest of these nests of reptiles.
Yeah.
There was only
the supplies, whatever, but good job. Basically the idea is that Roy doesn't really care how their folks died.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, like in a speech, you'd be like, "Congratulations, you've retrieved our supplies, fought off a building nest of shriekers and reptiles.
Yeah,
and you've only lost. There was only 20 casualties. I'd say that's a good day." And he walks away.
So Roy doesn't care about the deaths. He ignores any concern from the guys, from the guys. The people, the lower class people, are sad and upset. Parents, this kind of builds to the unrest. Parents mourn the loss of their children. Here we go. And we see a large board of all those who have died. Right. And so you get that sense of like many have died, many more will die. And no one cares from the higher ups, from the higher classes. Like this is only for the lower class people that actually look at this and feel the weight of this thing.
Yeah.
Only in the lower class area is this board. All right. Okay. So they feel the weight of this thing. Keanu tells some of the parents to keep their heads high as their child fought with respect and dignity, let's say, somewhere down the lines. He's comforting them. All right. So now we have to get somewhere from there within 27 minutes to build on this unrest a little bit more.
I'm coming up with a sneaky way to cause this big rebellion in the end. That might be interesting.
Share, please.
Hold on, let me write down my thoughts. Keanu, squadron about
Well, speak how about as you're doing with this, so I get a sense of where you're headed.
Okay, so I would say so each of these trapper groups, they're being commanded by someone that's in the military base that's just sitting in like a comfy room. So let's say that Keanu's group, they get a new squad leader in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a girl. Her name's Brenda. She's fresh out of military academy. She's now their leader. She gets to command them as she pleases on missions. So on their first mission, Brenda doesn't know the horrors of combat or anything like that. All she sees is screens, and she's just been trained to use the trappers like some pawns in a strategy game, right? So maybe she's not as cold blooded. Maybe she's oblivious to how the world actually works. She's just doing her job as the squad leader. So everything is going well on this mission, and then they run into some more shriekers and creepers. And now they're in a tight spot. She sees what's going on, and she's just frozen from fear. She doesn't know what command to give. And Keanu's like, "What do you want us to do?" And she's like, I don't know." And then he just takes over, does what he has to do, saves the rest of the squadron, but obviously they lost a few members, and it really hurt them because him and his squadron are tight. So Brenda's furiously apologizing to him, and he gets upset at her. He's like, "You're just a naive little girl. You don't understand how this world works, do you?" And she's like, "What? I thought trappers are brave individuals that they volunteer to do this, and they're heroes. They're regaled as heroes." And then Keanu gives her the real truth of how the society is. No, the people in this certain district where all the lower class people are, this is the only job that we could get, and we're pretty much getting sacrificed like a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And you people in X district, you just get to sit all high and mighty in the comforts of your own homes while we're out there risking our lives.
Does this person, like Brenda, does she never risk her life? Like she's somewhere behind the bunker?
Yeah, she's literally just a strategist. Like she just commands the troops.
So she's our strategist person. Okay.
Yeah. And then maybe after she understands what's going on, and then it's time to rebel, maybe she's the one that gives them the in on the inside to go rebel.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like right now.
So the way we can merge is, say he comforts them. New orders come in for the following night. Keanu is to link up with a new strategist for a supply run of power rocks. I don't know.
Electric rocks.
So the new strategist comes in on the radio. Her name's Brenda. Brenda doesn't know the horrors of combat. Right, as the squad goes out to fight.
They're doing their mining or whatever, and then they get ambushed from all sides.
As they are mining, they run into more creepers and shriekers, or they get attacked or whatever, ambushed. She becomes frozen with fear. Kind of asks her what she wants to do. The radio is silent. She doesn't know. Kind of takes over. They fight the good fight, lose some people, but they survive. They return to base. Kind of tells her she's way over her head. Brenda thinks everyone's out there volunteering. He tells her that they've been all drafted into this because they're lower class. Brenda is now a bit more aware how this world some of the other members in the lower class began to voice their frustration with the drafting and the unfair treatment that they receive. Keanu tells them all of how they placed a new strategist who didn't know what to do to call the shots. It's like they don't care about their lives. A man yells out, they should take over. Hell, they know how to fight. Keanu tells them to remain calm. Let's see if they can make a change before violence. See where I'm kind of headed with it? Where it's like, instead of just going straight into like, all right, off with their heads, it's like, all right, well, he's still trying to use reason in a sense, all right? So we have to add another character. So Keanu goes to see the in-between man, whoever this person is, tells him of the unrest beginning to bubble up among the lower class. They need fair treatment, or else things can get ugly.
Yeah, and I think meanwhile, while that's going on, he's trying to negotiate for a peaceful and more equal treatment. In the meantime, Keanu's squadron and under Brenda's command, complete more missions successfully together. Brenda, because she's just a curious girl, she learns more and more about her squadron, each of the members, and she becomes more attached to them. So they develop some sort of friendship. And when it's time to rebel, Keanu just tells her, just stay away from this. Just stay away from whatever district that they're attacking on that night.
So we'll say the man doesn't care. The lower class gets angry and angrier.
Riots start happening.
Riots begin.
Flash mobs.
Brenda radios into Keanu and asks him, pretty much like what's going on. Keanu explains what's happening, and she's sad that things are this way. Keanu thinks maybe she can help by opening the door, by
giving them like the
modern weapons.
Or maybe she gives them like the guard shifts, so they sneak in, or gives them the passcode to the front, to the base, to the military base.
Passcode to the front, so a few of them can speak to the higher ups, right? But here's what's going to happen. It's not going to go as planned. So Brenda gives the code, and as Keanu is punching in the code, a mob of angry rioters try to push their way through.
Try to storm the Capitol.
That's right. storm the front.
Huh?
Now what? About 13 minutes, just so you know.
Storm the front. Guards start aiming their weapons at the civilians. They're like, stand down, or else we're gonna fire. Brenda's sitting there in shock, saying, how could they kill their own people? And someone throws a Molotov cocktail from the protesters, blows up one of the military vehicles, and then all hell just breaks loose. There's firefighting from all sides. Keanu and his squadron sneak in. They try to capture Roy.
But he slips away, and they decide to calm the rioters down, to focus their attack, right? So just doing random things, move as a unit kind of deal, as a large unit.
Yep.
So now what? They had to get through this big door.
They got oh no, the big door is separating them from the outside.
Yeah, or just a door, some kind of barrier between them and where the upper, because like he slips away, but he can't get away that far. I mean, they still are in this.
Maybe he's hiding inside his mansion.
He's hiding inside this mountain, right? So it's like whatever level he's in or whatever. Like it's not like he can like go to the other side of the country, right? Like they could get to him.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe he's hiding inside his compound.
right.
Roy has his own compound. He's hiding there.
Keanu leads his people all around. His people to Roy's compound, and they begin to dig at the wall. Eventually, they'll get through.
They start hammering the wall.
All right, pieces fall. The wall falls. Whatever they get in. Who's the first one in?
Some random person, and he gets shot up.
The mob flows through, but as they do,
They're met with machine gun fire.
Are met with machine gun fire. Keanu calls for everyone to stop.
No, maybe they bust through with their cars.
Well, okay. Everyone to stop. It's silent. When all of a sudden, we see Keanu and others in a car busting through the wall.
And bullets are bouncing off the armored vehicle.
Bullets bounce off the vehicle. Bursting. All right, they drive the vehicle right through the front door of Roy's house or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, everyone gets out and begins the search to find Roy and end this conflict peacefully. Keanu thinks. Some semblance of peace.
They try to citizens arrest him.
Through the mansion. Because we have 7 minutes, I'm going to say eventually they find him. I feel like they should deal with him in a way that's like they can either put him out, tie him to a tree, and then let the freaks or whatever, like shriekers, have their way with him. Or, and this is after they try to make peace in the sense of like, hey, this can all be called off.
Yeah. Could do that, or I was thinking another way. Keanu would tell him to step down and just to give up, and Roy just starts talking trash about his people. He's like, you lower class scum, nothing nothing. You guys are just cannon fodder, and that's all you'll ever be. And this just pisses off Keanu to the point where he just blasts him.
So my guys, Keanu tells him to step down, but Roy berates him and berates him and the crowd. Keanu ties him up instead of blowing him out. Ties him up and tells him he made the wrong choice. He looks out from the mansion to see everyone watching. In essence, he has now become the leader. They ask what they should do now. Tells them to feed
Roy.
Feed Roy to the Shriekers. He gives a speech about the new republic. They will all form a new horizon to come, and they fight to bring to the Shriekers. They will reclaim their Earth. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty good.
Whew. All right. And there's a whole bunch of things that we kind of skipped on to make sure that got done. But that was in 4 minutes left. So I'll go ahead and stop this timer.
Yeah,
That one was a doozy. I'm not going to lie.
there's a lot we could do with
Yeah.
like character dynamic. I think the dynamic between the characters is what will carry this particular story.
Yeah, I think so. Mind you, we still have about 3 minutes left. Did we use color? We used Groan, Cheap, Unrest, and Sight.
The color, I mean, we could improvise in there when they're about to rebel. They all put on like some war paint of the same color, some dark red.
Okay. And there's also some moments of like descriptors of like blood everywhere, color red sprayed and everything, so we can use it in that way. All right.
Signify their alliance or their unity for rebellion.
Yeah. Okay. The timer is stopped. And
interesting.
Oh, Kevin, can you put this on a quick pause? Your boy has to pee.
All right. I'm not sure how to pause this.
Or leave it running and then just edit it out.
Yeah. All right.
Give me 1 sec. Say, man, feels much better. You know to believe it. All right.
Conceive it. Believe it.
All right. Give me 1 sec here.
Conceive, believe, achieve.
I'm back, you evil man.
All right.
So Kevin, we have our story.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely an outline, and the intro. I think it might be the most like, I won't say bizarre. It's a one of a kind story in a sense.
It was an interesting world.
Yeah.
Where who would normally be the antagonist was just like an obstacle of the world itself, and the real antagonist was just amongst
people themselves,
the people,
the higher class. And to be quite honest with this story, it's like, with another draft, let's say, you definitely can add in more of those dynamics between the lower class and the higher class, and really drive that point home. But as for a first pass, it's pretty good. You get the sense of like, there's this thing out there, but inside, most of this drama, most of the problems are actually what would happen in regular life anyways, because mankind is like this. But like, it's the people that end up causing the most problem, so to speak. And you know, you have to combat with that.
Yeah. No, the relationship between these characters are like, it's tough to do on the first go around, but definitely polished up is what makes the story.
Yeah.
So,
Do you?
all right, let's try to go through it. I think
I could do.
you have the beginning and
Yeah.
end. I think I have the middle part where shortly after they get back from the mission, they reinstate Brenda as their new commander.
Yeah, you definitely had that part. So what I'll do is, yeah, all right. So I'll stop there. Let you talk that one out. What point do you think you got your stuff to? Until about, oh, I don't know.
I think to about where before they're about to rebel, before shit goes down. Before shit goes down.
So, okay, hold on.
Might have to do some jumping there, of course, but
Yeah.
right before shit hits the fan.
Okay. I have that rough bit there. All right.
All right. So to recap, the 5 words we were given were sight, groan, color, cheap, and unrest.
Yes. And just for those of you who are unsure, sight spelled SITE, as you know, could be confused as to which site we're referring to.
That's right.
All right. I'm going to begin on this tale that takes place in the mountain, as the rest of the world has been covered by these, we'll say, reptile type monsters and creatures that we have named Shriekers and forgetting what the other one was. Not a roller.
Creepers.
But here goes the story. Keanu wakes up for the day hearing an alarm go off. He turns on his radio and hears a distress call coming from a groaning trapper. Their unit is in a bad situation and they need backup now. All around Keanu, other group members are preparing for this battle. They're putting on their protection, bulletproof vests, helmets, loading up their weapons. Some are kissing their loved ones goodbye, as they know they're about to walk into a heavy fight. Keanu, at this point, sitting up in his cot, looks down at his weapon, at his cheap weapon, and loads ammo into it. This weapon's held together by duct tape and random metal parts that have been put on after effect to fix it up. At this point, the group gets together and they're moving to these armored vehicles that have been covered in blood and flesh from prior events and prior fights. They load up and drive up the pathway to the front gates. As we get there, we see the fear in some of the younger members' eyes. It's as if they never fought before. And if they haven't, this is going to be one hell of an experience for them. A man off to the side who seems his only job is to open the gate, to open the door, yells out, "Open the main bay!" The door seems to creak slow because the weight is so heavy. But finally it opens. And as it begins to open, moonlight cracks through and brightens everyone's faces up. We can really see the fear, the determination on some. The cars travel into the night. And as we travel through the night, we pull up high in the sky and we can see a fearsome firefight happening some distance away. Our squad cars arrive at the site, at the coordinates, and everything is suspiciously quiet. Where are the fighters that have just been blazing up the night sky with their bullets running through ammo? They decide on who's going to go outside and inspect. One of the guys says, "To hell with this. You guys are all scared. I'll do it." He gets outside and begins to look around. All around him are bodies and parts of things that we're unsure of what they are, but we know it's not human. He gets on the radio to tell them, "Hey, all I see are bodies. A loud sound goes off, and the man is flung away. Everyone in the car is bugged out, on high alert, readying their weapons, searching frantically from where this came from. Through all this, there still is that silence through the night sky. And we begin to hear this crunching, as we can only assume that the man that we just witnessed be flung away is being eaten. The captain yells out, "Shrieker, engage!" Through the shadows, something appears to be moving towards them. Everyone begins to unload their clips, all shooting in the same direction, all in the darkness. The shrieker lets out a loud shriek, causing the soldiers to cover their ears. As soon as this happens, it also means they're no longer shooting. Another soldier is taken from behind. Keanu sees this, and he's prepared himself with earplugs. He begins to engage one of the shriekers coming in for the kill. He so happens to win that one-on-one battle. Shooting it down, we finally see this massive body, reptile-type skin, as it lays twitching and dying. The team begins to work together to fight and defend their position. One calls out, "Where are they? Where are the rest?" Another says, "I don't know." "Grab the supplies, all the supplies that you can," the captain yells out. The team is trying to move together and find what they can while engaging. And they seem to be winning and staying off their attackers. Then all of a sudden, the captain yells out, "Stop shooting." It's quiet again. We're not sure if the attackers have left or they're preparing for something else. Two of them run off and say, "Hey, I see someone over there." That's when the ground begins to shake. They look up, see this large, round thing rolling towards them. The captain yells, "It's a creeper, move!" They all move back towards the vehicle and at this point engage this rolling mound of evilness with their cannon. One shoots an RPG, and they all shoot into the direction of this creeper, which behind this creeper are more shriekers. They fight like hell and eventually are able to survive this attack. The rest of the shriekers turn away and run. This is the first time we've actually seen them run away. Safe to say that this fight is over for now. The members who had witnessed the body or the person off in the distance runs over, and they find a shell-shocked woman with her gear still on, but she's covered in blood. The color of red is all around her. It is as if she was painting with blood. In her eyes is paralyzing fear. They take her, and they ask, "Where's everyone else?" All she can do is stare off into the distance. It's safe to assume that there is no one else. They move her back to the vehicle, load her up, load up the supplies that the team was able to get, and take off back to the base. Keanu and some of the others are told that Roy is delivering a speech after their fight. They get to the screen that's mounted on the wall, and Roy tells them how much of a great job they've done, and their success in bringing back some of the supplies will help ease the lives of those above them in the higher class, which also means those in the lower class will feel some of the relief with those supplies. The deaths of that night shouldn't upset them, because what they did was a great thing for a great cause for their people and for mankind. Everyone there in the lower class who's watching rolls their eyes. He doesn't care. He never cared. He shuts off by giving them an inspirational quote. The lower class is sad. Some are sad, some are upset. Parents of those soldiers who've now been lost have been told of their children are never coming back, and they mourn the loss of their children. And we see on a huge board small pictures and trinkets that family members have left up in memorial of those who have passed away. Only in the lower class is this kind of thing given and shown. You can feel the weight of their losses. at looking at this board. Keanu tells some of the parents to keep their heads up, and their child fought hard, and they will always be remembered with respect and dignity. And he's trying to comfort them, knowing it can only go so far. At that moment, Keanu's radio goes off. A new order comes in. Keanu is to link up with a new strategist for a new supply run of what's urgently needed are these electronic producing rocks.
That's right. And our new strategist's name is Brenda. She's fresh off graduation from the military academy, top of her class in terms of military intelligence. And this is her first mission on what should be an easy and peaceful one. So she gets in her position, radios in to her squad, introduces herself. They ignore her questions, asking of how are they, her small talk attempts. Keanu just radios back, just give us orders, just tell us where the supplies are, and then we'll get it done, and then everybody could go home. So she finds out that the site of the supplies are at 21, 40, 60 on the map. She sets it in to all the trappers' radars so they know exactly where to go. The squadron heads over there. Everything seems all in well. They're mining the electro producing rocks when all of a sudden a giant dread snake pops from underneath the ground and takes one of the squadrons. Now they're unloading fire onto the dread snake. The dread snake has one of Keanu's valued members in its mouth. He's yelling. They're all shooting at it. Brenda sees on the radar that a group of shriekers are also coming by from the left. She tells them, "Shriekers, shriekers." They all start shooting at the shriekers. Another member gets taken. It's all hell has broken loose on what should be a simple supply run. Now, Keanu, trying to battle and await his orders from his strategist, he's asking Brenda, give us some commands. Where are they coming from? Brenda, all the way back in the military base, is frozen in fear. She's paralyzed. She has no idea what to do. She's never experienced the horrors of battle before. And now she's seeing up front the realities of what these trappers have to go through. Again, silence. Keanu, in the spurt of the moment, takes command and acts on his own. And he commands his squadron to fight off the monsters for now. But in doing so, they've lost 2 valued members of their squad. They go back to the base, heartbroken, discouraged, and upset. Keanu's angered at Brenda. And Brenda, tries to give them her sympathy. And he doesn't want any of it. He goes off on her. He tells her, "You're just a stupid, naive girl that doesn't know what goes on in this world." And Brenda tries to say, "But you trappers are heroes, basically. You volunteer to do this work just so we can continue living in our society." Keanu laughs and he says, "That's not how it works at all. There is no other job that the lower class people can do besides being trappers. We have no other choice than to risk our lives. And for what? We don't even get to experience the spoils of our labor." And he goes on to explain to Brenda how this society that they live in actually works. Trappers are mainly composed of people from lower middle and lower class, and it's due to a draft, not volunteer work. Brenda gets uneasy after learning the truth of how her society works, and things in the lower class start to become uneasy. People are becoming more and more frustrated with what's going on in their situation. There's more unrest in the world. Keanu realizes what's going on, and he tries to quell this unrest amicably. He goes with his middleman to the higher-ups, and he tries to get more fair treatment, get more supplies to his people in order to quell what's going on, or else he knows violence is just going to outburst from all of this. Brenda and Keanu continue to go on missions, complete missions together. Brenda gets more and more experience as a strategist, and she's able to command them. And she's also grown attached to her squadron. Unlike previous strategists that just looked at their squads as just pawns on the battlefield, Brenda has grown attached to every single member. She's grown a small friendship with Keanu. They start to get close. And one day, Keanu finds out some bad news from his representative from the higher-ups. He requested more ammo and supplies from the higher-ups in order to do some more missions. The representative hesitantly tells Keanu that they've done another budget cut and they can't give them more supplies. Keanu relays this news to Brenda on their latest mission. Brenda becomes worried because she has no idea why. Everything seems actually better where she is, in the upper middle class section of this city. So she does a little digging, and she finds out that the money that has just been cut from the trappers in the lower class has just been redistributed and just put in the pockets of all the upper class individuals. So the rich has become richer. She doesn't know what to do with this news. She thinks about it, and she decides to tell Keanu the truth. And that is the straw that has broken the camel's back. Keanu has grown tired of it. He gathers all his people from all the sections and districts in the lower class. He tells them, we're just animals in a slaughterhouse, and this is no way to live. They want us to die. And he brings them together in unity, and he plans a coup de grace against Roy and the upper middle class. And because Brenda has now grown affection for the lower class people, Keanu asked her for help. He asked her for the code to the front of the military base, and he says it's okay if she doesn't want to help them, but don't come to the area on this particular night, because there will be bloodshed. Brenda relays the code. She discovers the code and relays it back to Keanu. Keanu and his squadron and the rest of the people, his squadron in particular, they always put on a maroon-colored war paint before going out for any mission. It's to signify another battle, another day of risking their lives. So they wear this war paint under their eyes to signify another battle that's about to happen.
All right. Keanu goes. All his members are putting on war paint. They're ready to go. Anger. They are ready for vengeance. Keanu puts in the code. The gate opens up. The door opens up. The guards on the other side, shocked to see all these members standing there with war paint on, tells them to go back to their dwellings and they'll close this door. They're not sure how they were able to get it open, but it's not a game. They can see the resolve in all these people's eyes. Nothing is going to stop them or turn them around. The guards put up their weapon. And they warn them again. One even fires some warning shots at the ground. So at that point, as the standoff is there, Molotov cocktail flies over the head of Keanu and those at the front and breaks out in front of the guards. They back off. The firefight begins, both sides shooting at each other. Keanu gets low and goes around the edges. He knows his mission and the true end of this fight is to capture Roy and bring about a peace. Keanu and some of those closest to him and his squad sneak around. As Roy comes out to inspect what the hell is going on, he sees that this major battle is underway. He runs back to barricade himself in the upper rings of this society and this environment. As the mob moves through the upper class streets, they light fires to the homes of those that they feel have betrayed them and made them feel lesser than. All the upper class can do is watch as some of their homes is set on fire by the mob. Keanu and his squad make their way further and further up the streets of the upper class, finally reaching the wall of Roy's compound. They get to the compound and they're looking for a way in, as you would expect. The front gate's locked and tight, with guards in the inner perimeter of the compound. When Keanu looks for a way in and doesn't find it, the rest of the mob reaches the outside gate and the wall. They begin to do all they know how to do. They begin to break through the rock wall, chiseling, sledgehammering, shooting, basically busting a hole through this wall. The pieces fall, the wall falls, and the mob flows through, but as they do, they're met with heavy, suppressive machine gun fire. This mows down a few waves of the mob as they make their way through the wall. Keanu sees this horrendous bloodshed and tells everyone to pull back and stop. He calls out to Roy, "Come out, end this class system, put an end to this." It's silent. There's no response. So at that point, a bomb is thrown into the mob, killing a whole bunch more of the mob. Keanu sees that as it currently stands, there's no way to reason with Roy, as he's still on the offensive trying to kill those from the lower class. We're now from the point of view of the guards as they are preparing to launch more offensive at the mob, when we hear this engine come creeping up closer and closer and closer, where finally a large tanker comes bursting through the wall, breaking down the rest of the wall. The guards, panicked and shocked, try shooting their machine guns, their higher tech machine guns, at this vehicle, but it just bounces off. It can't reach, as this vehicle is from the higher class. They drive that vehicle right through the front main door of Roy's house. They go so far that they enter all the way into the living room. Everyone gets housed. The house is in disarray. I mean, it's as if a bomb just went off in there, since they just drove a tanker through. They begin the search. Roy's children and wife is found. They tell him not to panic. They continue on with their search. The guards come in behind them. As that happened, the mob decides to push forward, because now their attention is split. Now there's a fight on the front yard of this mansion. And inside, Keanu and his squad are being hunted by a few guards. They reach the kitchen. They inspect around all the corners. A guard pops his head up through one of the doorway, shooting Keanu, wounding him. Someone from his squad returns fire and kills off the guard. comes over to Keanu and asks him if he's okay or if he needs help. Keanu says, "We can't stop here. We must see this all the way through. This ends today." Fighting his wounds, Keanu pulls back up his weapon and they continue to search through the house. They reach the steps. The first man from the squad begins to ascend, having his drawn-out rifle lead the way. It's at that point, a bullet comes crashing down and kills off one of the squad members. Keanu calls up, "Roy, is that you?" Roy tells him there's no way in hell he's going to lay down his weapon. Keanu tries to reason with Roy, telling him, "Look around him. Look at all the destruction and death. They should end this here. At the end of the day, they actually need the people in order to fight off the monsters that await them outside. They shouldn't become the very monsters inside the compound, inside the mountain." Roy tells him this is the way the world works. It's been this way for many years. It's always been classes. Nothing different should change. This is the way it is to be. At that point, Keanu throws up a flashbang. This stuns Roy. Keanu and one of his other squad members run up the stairs and bum rush Roy. Roy lets off another shot. This bullet streaking right past the squad member. They get Roy down to the ground, relieve him of his weapon. But Roy's not done. He pulls out a knife and begins to try to stab Keanu as he's on top of him. Keanu stops him from being able to stab him and removes the knife from his hand. Finally, they tie up Roy's arms and they bring him to the window so he can see for himself all the destruction and carnage that is outside. He's able to see the mob and all the people upset, all the death, all the blood, all the destruction. And he tells them to give up, to stop all this so that way they can move forward. Instead, Roy berates him in the crowd, tells them they're low lives. Keanu decides to go ahead and tie the rest of them up and to put a rag over his mouth so he can't talk anymore. He whispers to him he made the wrong choice. He looks out of the mansion to everyone looking up to him as if he were God himself. In essence, he has now become the leader that they needed. He stands there looking over all of them. Someone from the front asks, "What should they do now?" At that moment, Keanu knows that he needs to bring the crowd, this riot down, to end this riot and bring peace. They tell him Roy has decided to not give up his fight and that he shall be fed to the Shriekers, and commands some men to take him off to do so. He then gives a speech about the new ideals of what this whole society can look like, a new republic where everyone is more or less equal, where everyone can decide what kind of work they wish to do, to where pay is distributed based off of your merit and not your class, to where more freedoms, more liberties can be handed out. This will become the new republic, and they will come back and fight the Shriekers and reclaim Earth once and for all. Once again, as for the humans and the human civilization. The crowd shouts. They raise their guns to greet their new leader. Keanu stands there, knowing damn well a lot more work lies ahead of them all. The end. Part 2 comes in number 11.
Keanu for president.
That's right. This is very much so a series. I definitely see that, like, it's not done. There's a part 2, a whole movie around part 2 of like reclaiming Earth.
1000%. Yeah.
This is definitely, this is one of those. This is like the first time you get to end. You're like, all right, there's definitely a part 2 of like this story is a lot bigger than just one film,
Right.
maybe 2 film.
The whole series.
Yeah.
A whole series. Nice. Nice. That was pretty tough.
That was a harder one.
But I think we squeaked out a pretty decent story overall.
Yeah. I agree.
No, that one's an interesting one because it's more like political conflict.
There's, you have the outside conflict and all of that and the fear and all that stuff, but it's mainly a political inside conflict, so to speak, right? Because it deals more so with it. Like, what's out there, like what's going on, but it deals with more of like the unrest, the lack of a fair and just society within the mountain walls,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Turn on this light. Then we're going to see what the AI spits out. I'm curious.
Yeah, this one's a tougher one that we've dealt with, and I think it definitely would need another good few looks to tighten it up. But all we're really doing is tightening up the class system and the unjustness of it all. Like I can imagine there being like someone put on trial for something that's unfair for, it's something that only the lower class people can be put on trial for, or something like this, or some kind of unfair treatment, demonstrating that in a more clear way would be important.
Yeah, we would build up the unrest more, build up the character dynamic between Brenda and Keanu.
Yeah. Hey, that could be the love dynamic too, because they start off, they don't like, he doesn't like her and she doesn't understand him. And then, they might grow to like, that's why he gets the code, because she actually just develops a kind of love for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Let's see. Let's pull this up. All right. So we have, can you create a story, a post-apocalyptic story with lizard monsters and political unrest? Use the words sight, groan, color, sheep, and unrest as words or themes in the story. All right, let's see what this thing spits out here. Oh, it's generating fast this time. Last week, it took a bit. We stumped it. It was like,
This week it says, I know exactly what to do with this.
Yes, it said, I've made people have made me make lizard monster stories before. Let me make one. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But
it's got a lot to write.
Saying, world's at peace and all this. What is it naming it? Post-apocalyptic lizard.
Post-apocalyptic lizard uprising. Yeah. That's hilarious.
That is. All right, let's see what we got here.
All right. The world as we knew it had changed. A new species of lizard monsters had grown and taken over the planet, forcing humanity to take refuge in the few remaining safe sites. The once vibrant cities were now desolate, the buildings a faded color of what they used to be. Political unrest was rampant as people fought for the limited resources that remained. The government, desperate to keep the people under control, made a cheap and controversial decision to use the lizard monsters as a means of punishment for those who spoke out against them. But not everyone was willing to go down without a fight. A group of rebels, inspired by the colors of hope, banded together to take down the government and reclaim their world from the monstrous creatures that had taken it over. They snuck into the forbidden sites, where the lizard monsters were bred and kept, and found evidence of the government's involvement in their creation. Fueled by this new knowledge, the rebels led a full-blown uprising, their ranks swelling with those who were tired of the constant unrest. The battle was intense, with neither side willing to back down. In the end, the rebels emerged victorious, freeing the oppressive rule of the corrupt government and the terror of the lizard monsters. The world was finally at peace, with the colors of hope and prosperity slowly returning as the rebels worked to rebuild and restore what had been lost. But the memory of the lizard monsters and the political unrest that had once threatened to destroy everything served as a constant reminder to never let such horrors befall the world again.
You know, I love the way it keeps trying to bring in the colors of hope.
Yeah.
The way it tries to use the word colors. I think it's a little soft as a
It lacks a lot of detail.
Yeah, it's a little soft as a story. So yeah, no real detail, and I'm not really sure. You know, there's no class system in this one, right? So it's more so about, you know, this other group finds out, or it maybe implies one, but they find out about apparently the government's making these lizard monster people.
Yeah, it's like a tyrannical government
who
versus its people.
Have made these horrible monsters in order to control them, which is interesting.
It was interesting, but
I'll say,
it doesn't hold a candle.
Yeah, I'll say we still won that. I don't know if I would take any of that and turn it into something.
Right.
You know, as a draft.
Yeah, that one was a little bland.
Yeah. All right, let's call it.
The W again, 10-0.
Yeah, that's right. You tell us, everyone out there, like, did we take the W? Did we take the L? Is this our first L on episode 10? Or did we make a sound story that's more vibrant than the AI generated story? You tell us.
Yep, let us know. And then now, to cap our story off, give it a title.
That's right. Lizard people. What do they call it?
Lizard monsters and us. Let's see. The Trapper Rebellion. The New Rebellion.
There's something to be said about the monsters. You know, there's monstrous type folks inside and outside.
Monsters from within. Lizards from within. Snakes in the grass. Creeper shriekers.
Like Jeepers Creepers.
Creeper shriekers and dread snakes.
Brenda's got a baby. If you're a Tupac fan, you know about that. The Compound.
The Compound.
Upper class.
Trapped. Trapped is a trapper. Trapping as a trapper.
I don't know what the hollow point, but it doesn't. It's just like very generalized.
Hollow point.
Just sounds cool.
Lizard Squad.
Keanu.
That could be one.
Keanu's fight.
The fight from within. Keanu's fight is pretty good too. Keanu's fight. Fight or flight.
The mountain.
The mountain. Mountain people.
Mountain people.
And lizards. Mountain people and lizards.
Don't close your eyes.
Don't close your eyes.
Don't go outside.
Don't go outside. Lizard.
Lizard. Snake. Don't go outside. They come at night.
They come at night.
That gives it a little bit of a scary feel to it.
Yeah, I think
in the dark.
You know, that those would make sense if lizards were the main focal point as like the conflict. It's like the people. So like Keanu's fight. Those titles I think are more suitable.
Yeah. I also think like In the Dark is kind of vague, but it's very like they fight at night, they move, they live, they very much survive at night, but they also die at night. And then
In the Dark.
This fight takes place at night, so it's like in the dark. And I can almost see for a part 2 when it
In the
a
light.
real war at night. It's like then we go really in the dark constantly.
Yeah, in the dark. Brenda's in the dark about how this world works.
Everything.
Everything in the dark. All right.
And it's also just scary enough to make you feel like, you know, a little bit of fear.
Yeah. In the dark.
Yeah.
Starring Keanu Reeves.
All right. In the dark.
In the dark. All right. That is our story. And we will be back next week with story number 11. And hopefully I'm not sick then and don't sound as nasally. But that is episode 10, In the Dark. We'll see you next week.